Hi, I'm Peter Gordon, and I'm the president of New York Financial Organizers. We're daily money managers. We help people pay their bills, file insurance claims, we do budgets, we do all the non investment side of personal finance. Essentially, we help people organize life's daily demands. Excuse me. And the purpose of this podcast is to introduce our viewers and listeners to people who help other aspects of organizing life's daily demands. And today I'm thrilled to have Michael Blumenfeld as a guest, and he's the president of Mile Square Insurance, something that certainly people need to help organize their daily demands of life. Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your background is before we get into the nuts and bolts of personal insurance.
Oh, you bet. I started working in insurance in the late 80s. I worked for a variety of insurance companies, and about 13 years ago, I hung out my own shingle and decided to help consumers figure out the best way to insure their homes and their businesses. And so I started Miles Insurance. In that time, we've grown. We now have 9 employees, and we help about 3,000 customers, businesses, uh, people understand the way to get the best kind of insurance for their cars and their houses and their businesses. And what else would be great to know? I
Well,
think
we'll get
I hope that helps. I'm the owner of Mouse. We're an independent insurance agency. We're not beholden to any one insurance company. We represent a couple dozen insurance companies, and we work really hard to figure out what people need and then the best way to get it for them.
right. And so how do you figure that out? How do you figure out what people need? What's
You
that
you
process?
ask the best thing to do is get on the phone and talk to them because people generally don't realize what they need. They don't understand that they understand look that their house is one of the most important things and usually one of their biggest assets, but they don't have no idea about the different ways you can insure a house and what the difference between a good policy and a not so good policy is. And so those are it's really just conversation and trying to figure out what's important to people. Some people, Peter, are very are risk takers, and others are very risk adverse. And so it's really important to match that up with the way that approach to how they want to insure their stuff.
Right. And so, a lot of people who are listening or watching this probably have had insurance a long time. How do people's needs evolve as they get older?
Well, typically what we see is, when you're just starting off and your needs are really basic, right? You don't have a lot of stuff, you don't have a family, or you're just starting a family. And as they get older, people acquire stuff, and they tend to move to bigger places. And as they do that, their needs grow more complex. When you decide, Peter, that you want to get a classic car, because now that's the time and you should absolutely, and I really want one. You need to know the right way to insure that classic car, and that's something I didn't worry about when I was 24, right?
I
Those are
like
the kinds
I,
of things.
well, you get it with classic car like they're in or a motorcycle in a midlife crisis.
Or you have children, and a lot of times we get calls, and it's like, "Hey, Mike, my son is turning 17 and we're at DMV and he just got his license." And and that changes things, and that's really something that you need to understand and be prepared for, because insurance companies' worst nightmare is a 17-year-old new driver.
Yeah.
And they're gonna price accordingly. So
And and I work with a lot of clients and we review their what they have in place, and many have. umbrella policies. Excuse,
Good,
excuse.
because most people don't know what they mean or what they are. So
Well, that was an unfortunate timing on a sneeze, but can you tell us why people need umbrella policies?
you bet. If you've got assets, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to lawsuits, and we're a highly litigious society. And the thing is, if you drive a car or you own a home, you're you potentially can get sued. And here's the crazy thing, Peter, is you don't even have to be 100% at fault for something that happens. I mean, I could be driving and God forbid a kid or whatever jumps in front of my car and I don't see him and they're hurt. I mean, it'd be awful. But now I'm going to be involved in almost certainly in litigation because you've got a very angry parent and you hurt their kid, and they're not going to stop at anything to make it right. I mean, I get it. I'm a parent. I do the same thing, and so making it right to them might mean suing you for every penny you have. And I've worked really hard for my money and I don't want it vulnerable for a 2-second mess up. Or it could be a situation. Look, I'm in a car, I'm sitting at a stoplight, and somebody rear ends me, and now somebody else got hurt because of that, and I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just sitting there at a stoplight, legal, what have you. And guess what? There's litigation, and because I have a good policy and because I have an umbrella policy, I sleep fine at night. Go ahead. I mean, listen, I don't want to be sued. Please don't sue me. But if you were
Doesn't
to, I've got lots of protection.
well, what doesn't your auto insurance policy protect you?
Oh, you bet. But I only have limits of 250,000 on that. And as soon
That's
as that
ridiculous.
ambulance shows up, and most people,
Mhm.
it's great. A lot of people, most people, when they come to us, they might have 100,000 liability limit or 250, and 30 years ago that might have been fine. But
Right.
now, as soon as the ambulance shows up, you can write a check for 50,000 right then and there, because there's going to be medical bills and regardless. And so, 100,000, 250,000 doesn't go very far. And so, an umbrella gives you excess limits on top of that, and that's really protecting. So that's protecting your assets. That's your house, your savings, everything, because that's everything that the plaintiff's lawyer is going to be looking at when they're trying to extract that from you.
Right, and that's uh, a good reason to have your insurance policies reviewed on a regular basis.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your needs do change as you get older. Situations become more complex, and hopefully you're acquiring more assets that need more protection. It's pretty
Right,
simple.
right. And so, what are some mistakes people make? Common mistakes that people make when buying personal insurance.
Um, in my experience, they focus on the wrong things and don't focus on what is really important. So don't get hung up on what the deductible is. In fact, you should probably take as high a deductible as you can, as long as they're giving you some commensurate savings for taking that deductible. Like, why involve an insurance company in something that costs $1,500 to fix? It's just not worth. It's just not worth it at all for a number of reasons. So don't focus on the deductible. Um, do focus on the price you pay, but more importantly, focus on the quality of coverage. And just do you, the number one thing, let's just take a homeowner's policy since that's people's biggest asset, right? Make sure that the policy has enough limits to put the house back in together if something should happen. And make
What do you mean
sure.
by that?
Oh, sure, sure. So, if you let's say you've had that same policy for 20 years and no one's really looked at it or what have you, you could send me that policy and it might say that you have 500,000 of coverage for your home, but the truth is that given all kinds of changes in inflation, building costs over that time compounded, maybe it costs 750,000 to replace your home now. That's not uncommon. In fact, the number one thing they're seeing, with these horrible fires in California that people have endured, and they're wiped out. And the biggest problem is that there's a lot of people that don't have enough money to rebuild their home,
Right, they're
and
underinsured,
wildly underinsured because it's compounded over time, and that could have been prevented. Or something else to
especially in
focus on. Oh, yeah. Well, where you have anywhere where there's, the potential of a widespread calamity, right? Uh, we experienced it here in the Northeast with Superstorm Sandy, where entire, mostly coastal communities were just devastated. And what
California.
also happens in those situations, and their experience in California, is when there's a situation where many homes are all affected at once, all of a sudden it costs a lot more to replace your home because now you're competing with everybody else for labors and material, and the prices just spike. And so a good insurance policy will have a provision there that'll give you even more money above and beyond what's in the policy limits to help protect you in that scenario. So I mean, there's things in policies that consumers are not conditioned to look for. And so if you have a good insurance agent on your side helping you review it, it's worth. I think we're worth it. And the good thing is we don't cost anymore. If we're able to find a policy for somebody, the insurance company gives us a commission for helping helping find them a new customer. So it doesn't cost you any
Right.
more to have an insurance agent, and a good one's going to make sure you're covered well. That's my pitch.
Yeah, we'll get back to that towards the end, but
Fair
you
enough.
know,
Okay.
yeah, this is it's a good segue. Talking about the climate change and how much weather calamities we're having. What is the current state of the insurance market as it relates to the changes in
Well,
claims?
insurance markets really, it's dynamic, and the last 4 or 5 years have been um, terrible for consumers. There's actually a real homeowners insurance crisis where carriers claim that they're not able that to keep their rates keep up with the risk that they're facing. And climate change is absolutely cited as one of those reasons. The cost of reinsurance is cited as a reason. The increased cost to rebuild homes is cited as a reason. So for the last several years, we've seen carriers walk out of markets where they can't get the rate. They're highly regulated, just like utilities, depending on the state. And
Depending.
if the state won't give them the kinds of increases they're looking for, they will cease writing new policies, and in some extreme cases leave the state. And we saw that. Um, I think what we're starting to see now in the last 6 months or so is a little bit more equilibrium to the market, where carriers have now earned their rates are more where in line with where they need to be, and competition has come back in, thank God, and carriers are opening back up, and we're able to source more and better options for our clients.
Right. Are there are there particular carriers that you favor? Now, you're a broker as opposed to just an agent, right? Why don't you talk a little bit about that and the benefits of working with you because of that?
Sure. So we're actually a broker and an agent, depending on the situation. For standard, we work with companies like Chubb and Travelers, and a lot of mutual companies that are not brand name because they don't have direct to consumer advertising. Um, so we're actually technically agents for them, which means we have the ability that if you fit their model, we can hit a button and get you a policy. We have that authority. But in some situations, that your needs don't align well with those carriers, and we have to go to the broader market to find the product that fits you best. And in that capacity, we're actually a broker. But the important thing is, I mean, that to me is more of a legal technicality. The important thing is if you have a good agent I'm on my client's side, and I am standing behind them if something happens and the carrier's not living up to their end of the deal. And that's the value proposition of a good agent. So if you're dealing directly with an insurance company, you don't have somebody like me to point out, to help you when things go sideways.
Right. Exactly. Um, and you know, we talked about getting in touch with you and you reviewing. Could you tell us how that would work? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, and what's the review process like?
Oh, sure. Well, thankfully, I don't do it all, which is really good, because I have a staff. I have it depending on your needs. If your need is homeowners insurance, we have three licensed agents. They're experts in homeowners and auto and umbrella and jewelry, and we can find boats and classic cars and all those vacation homes and all that sort of thing. And if your needs are business insurance, we have a team of three commercial lines folks that can help. So best thing to do is to call us. We like to chat on the phone, but we have a really nice website and it can help take down some preliminary information, has all our contact detail or what have you. So great. So you've called us. Now what? That's we're gonna take a look and we're gonna block out some time so we can figure out as much about you that's relevant and makes sense. Where do you live? What kind of house do you have? How long have you been there? Have you had claims? And then look at it based uh, relative to how you're presently insured. And if you are insured well and you have a good policy and you have a good relationship with an agent now, we're going to be the first one to say, listen, that relationship's important. Keep that relationship, grow that relationship. I think you're doing a fine job on that. And that happens sometimes. And then other times we find people, it's like, well, I bought this policy when I bought the house. It's 20 years ago. That person doesn't even work at that agency anymore. I haven't really looked at it. And in those times, then it's like, well, let's just start off from scratch. And again, figure out how much does the house cost to replace? Are your do you have enough money for your possessions? Are we covering your valuable articles? Uh, are there any situations we need to be made aware of? Are you renting out the house ever as a vacation property, for example? Do you have a nanny that lives there? I mean, these are just the
Yeah.
complexities that should come out in conversation and be dealt with because the form and the policy by needs to align with those so that there's no surprises. Because like many things with insurance, nobody likes surprises. That's not a good one. Yeah.
That's great. So, all your information will be included in both the
Super.
podcast and the video at the bottom to get in touch with Michael. Is there anyone that you want to do a shout out to who you would recommend to help you as well as maybe should be on this podcast?
A shout out to somebody who could help. Oh, well, we do really well with we tend to talk to a lot of people that are buying their first home. And that's because we have a great network of mortgage lenders and realtors and real estate attorneys where we've earned their trust. Uh, so those are great people. We deal with a lot of property managers that manage condominium buildings and apartment buildings for investors. Those are great people. And sure, I'd be happy to refer you to some of those that I think would have some good insights for your listeners.
Okay. Well, that's great, Michael. Appreciate it. I feel more educated about the personal insurance market, and I'm sending you my policies certainly to review.
Super.
And that's it. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the time, and I look forward to having everybody come back for our next podcast. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter.